Hey there! Today I'm talking about the game of fetch. Actually, fetch I get asked about all of the time. Lots of people want to teach their dogs to play fetch because it's a fun game for them to play and it's an easy way to exercise your dog and get them to burn some energy. But it's actually a reasonably difficult thing to teach your dog depending on whether they have an inclination to fetch things or not. Of course, if your dog is a retriever or has some kind of retriever in them, they've got a natural desire to go and bring things back, which really helps. If they're not, it can be more difficult. Doesn't mean it's impossible, just means it's a little bit more difficult. So today's video was inspired by a request that I received from one of my lovely clients. Hi Julie and Gussie and Gertie. And they asked what to do when your dog won't bring the item back to you. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So if your dog will chase after the ball or the item that you want your dog to fetch, of course you can teach your dog to fetch anything you want that they can carry in their mouth. So we have to figure out what's going to motivate the dog to bring the ball back here or to bring their item back to me. Because oftentimes what a dog wants to do when they bring the ball back or the item back is not to give it to you, but rather to play a game of keep away so that you'll chase after them and they get to play a different game, which is chase me. So that's the first thing to remember. If your dog is doing this, where you throw the item, they bring it back, but they're staying out around here and won't actually bring it to you, is don't chase after them to try to get it back, because that turns it into a whole different game that dogs really love to do, and they're actually training you to chase after them when you're trying to train them to fetch the ball. Okay, so that's the first thing to remember. Don't let your dog turn it into a game of chase me. The second thing is what will motivate our dog to bring it back here. And there's really two main things that you can work with, and that's having two different items. So you throw the item and your dog goes to get it, and when they turn around, you're standing here with a second item, which sometimes will motivate the dog to come back to you and drop the ball or the thing naturally, and then you get to throw the second item. They go and get the second item, and when they turn around to play that game with you, you're standing there with the first item, which you can then throw. So it's like a game of swapsies, and that can get the dog into the game of fetch. Some dogs might be better motivated with food. So you throw the ball or the item, and they go and get it, and when they turn around to play a game with you, you're there with a piece of food to encourage them back to have the food and take the ball. So what avenue you take really depends on your dog and what they're motivated by and what their likes and dislikes are. Some dogs, as soon as you take out food in the presence of a toy, they don't care about the toy anymore. So you really have to feel your way through this with your dog. So Sprocket here is a novice at playing fetch. It's not something that we do that often, mainly because Rosie loves to play fetch and they end up having an argument over the ball. So it's one of the things that we don't do very often. So I thought it would be a great thing for you to see me working through with Sprocket. So, ready Sprocket? Let's see what happens. Ready? Ready, 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 get it! Attaboy, Sprocket, what's this? Attaboy! Well done, Sprocket! So often Sprocket will take the ball and run off elsewhere. So I was ready when he turned around, I had my treat, I encouraged him over, he dropped the ball, I fed him the treat, and let's see if we can get him to do it again. Ready? Ready, go! Attaboy, Sprocket, what's this? Good boy, Sprocket! Clever boy! You're a good boy. Ready? Get it! Good boy, what's this? Yes, good. So this strategy is working really well for Sprocket. I'm throwing the ball. I've got some tasty treats in my pocket. So as soon as he turns around, I'm there to encourage him to come back to me to earn his treat. So the swapping the ball for a treat is the strategy that works really well with Sprocket. So why don't you have a go with your doggy and see how it's going? Some of you will be in the position that you throw the ball or you throw the item and there's just zero interest in going after it. It can be quite complicated to get your dog to go and get something like that. So my advice to you is spend some time getting your dog interested in the item in the first place. play lots of games with the item, get them to be really, really keen on that item so that they're more interested to go after it. That's the first step, is generating some interest in the item so that they'll actually chase after it. Ready, Sprocket? Go! Got my treat out. Oh, he got distracted. Uh-oh, damn it. Let's try again, let's try again, let's try again, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Come on, Sprocket. Good boy. Well done. Ready? Get it. Come on, Sprocket. What's this? Good boy. Well done. So, the important thing is not to be too strict on it. So Sprocket didn't bring the item all the way back to me because he's still learning this game. So I kept the game going, ran out there and created some interest in the item and got a couple of other fetches from him. So if we keep working on this, he'll continue to get the picture. So have a go and see how far you get with your dog, and let me know if you need some help.